From the shores of Lake Erie to the horseshoe at noon, we're talking Browns, Guardians, Cavs, yeah, we're changing the tune. It's a broadcast state of mind, yeah, we bleed scarlet and gray. We're breaking down the game and we're doing it our way. Don't want the watered down, don't want the polite. We're dealing in the truth, bringing all of the hype. From the 216 to the 614, it's the daily dose of sports that you've been looking for. Yeah, we're going nuclear. Cleveland fighting Buckeye field. From the dog pound roar to the stripped OHIO. Going nuclear. Let's get ready to go. We're talking ball strikes, touchdowns, and all the drama. Welcome to Going Nuclear.
And good evening, everybody. Welcome to Going Nuclear, full-blown coverage of the Land, part of the Land Multimedia Network. I am Ethan Greenberg, along with my co-host Drew Hagenbaugh and Mike Pellegrini. And joining us tonight, live from New York, it's Tim Alcorn, the radio voice of your Cleveland Cavaliers. Tim, thank you for joining us. How are you, sir?
Man, you make that sound like it was Saturday night at 11:30. But no, I appreciate the intro, and I look forward to talking to you guys. I always have a lot of fun with you guys. So hopefully we'll have some fun things to talk about, even with last night in the rearview mirror. But always great to be with you guys.
Thank you so much. It is great to have you along. We do have a lot of fun, and we are going to try, as we were texting earlier today, try and be a little lighthearted, and because that's the best you can do, right? You said, what, the sun came up today?
Sun came up.
Yeah.
Sun came up, and you know what? We talked about this a little bit before you guys started up, that professional athletes have very short memories, and that's a good thing. That's a positive trait. And as Donovan Mitchell said after the game last night, listen, you blow a 22-point lead, you get blown out, you lose on the buzzer beater, it doesn't matter. You're down 0-1. It's one game. So if you had said before the series started, we can bring it back to Cleveland at 1-1, anybody would have taken that. So, yeah, you have to move on from last night. You lost the game. It's one game. It's a 7-game series, and you play one game at a time. I know it's a cliche, but Thursday night's a whole new ball game. So we'll see what happens at MSG, just a few blocks from where I am right now.
Oh, boy, I'm sure it's just delightful there. Just delightful. It's been a whirlwind past few days. Have you had a chance to catch your breath, catch up on your sleep, process from bad Game 6 in Cleveland against Detroit, amazing Game 7 in Detroit, and then the tough loss last night there in New York?
Yeah, the games are coming fast and furious, Ethan. I mean, every other day, and that's the way it'll be with this series as well. Thursday, Saturday, Monday, Wednesday. So you'll be on that schedule. And what's amazing about it is the roller coaster ride of emotions that you're on. Talk about looking back and kind of forgetting what's in the past. I think the Cavs did that after that Game 6 loss to Detroit. I certainly didn't conduct a poll of everybody in Cleveland, but I think if you had asked, the majority of folks would have said, we don't have a chance Sunday in Detroit. We had our chance at home before a roaring crowd in Game 6, at Rocket Arena, and we blew it. And now you got to get on a plane and go to Detroit and take on the number 1 seed, and you've already beaten them there once. Can you do it again? And yet the Cavaliers put Game 6 behind them and said, we've got business to take care of in Detroit. And they went out and did that in stunning fashion. I mean, absolutely shocking fashion. And they believed in themselves and they believed in their teammates. So you come off of that and you head to New York and you're thinking, man, it's going to be a tough outing. Game 1, New York's well rested. And, we're getting in at 3 a.m. on Monday morning. And you're thinking, we don't have a lot of rest. And you're blowing them out halfway through the fourth quarter. Now, again, they make the great run and make the great comeback, and you walk out of there last night feeling deflated, like, oh man, that's one that's going to eat at you. But the first thing I thought of was I felt the exact same way after Game 6 in Cleveland against Detroit. I thought, oh, we let that one get away. As far as an opportunity, not the game. Detroit dominated from the get-go, but that was our opportunity. And yet the Cavs responded. And so I don't have any doubt the Cavaliers will respond tomorrow night. I don't think they're going to sit there and just sulk over this. I think they're going to come out and play a good ball game. So I guess that answers the second part of your question, just that up and down roller coaster feeling. Have I caught up on sleep? No, I have not yet done that. That's a pretty simple answer to that. But you know what? I'll have an entire off season to catch up on sleep. So I'll let sleep come when that happens.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I just had a fun, lighthearted question for you. So back in Detroit, you guys went to a team dinner, which is the reason why you couldn't be here with us. What was on the menu at the team dinner at Dan Gilbert's house?
Well, it didn't get that shot in, did it?
Hot and
my sincere apologies because I know you guys were
No,
and so forth. And
it's all good, Tim.
It's all good.
It's all good.
But when the owner of the team says everybody should be here for dinner, you don't say, "Yeah, I don't think
say
so."
no.
But no, Drew, to answer the question, what a wonderful gesture by Dan Gilbert to invite everybody to his home. Not that he didn't have room at his home; it's pretty spacious, but it was wonderful, and it wasn't anything fancy, to be honest with you. He just had, like a lot of people do, an outdoor tent was set up with tables and some snack foods and a beverage station, but that was really about it. But it was more just the opportunity to sit down with people from the organization, with Cavalier players. It was very informal. They had some big screens set up. I think that was the Knicks game 3 against Philly, if I'm not mistaken, but people were watching the Knicks game, and it was just a great time. It really was. And Dan Gilbert, Cavs fans, the city of Cleveland are so fortunate, and obviously employees and team members, so fortunate to have him be a part of everything that the Cavaliers do. Obviously after that is when he started sending fans and employees up by the busload to make Little Caesars Arena at least be somewhat of a mini home court for the Cavaliers with all the employees and fans that were there. So he's an extraordinary man. And again, it was a fun night. I'm sorry I missed your show because of it.
It's all good.
glad we could make it up this week. Glad to do it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know that we are just it's all good. We completely understand. And again, we were just wanted to have a little lighthearted fun about the menu but as long as they didn't serve you Little Caesars pizza, okay?
Yeah.
No, there was no pizza.
Okay, fair enough.
But it was very, very good food. I mean, it wasn't anything opulent or ostentatious, but it was a nice backyard event. It really was.
And I swear, either I am really transparent in my questions, or you can see through my screen, because I was gonna say, and you pretty much covered it. You speak about Dan Gilbert. How much did having all of those Cavs fans and employees in the stands in Detroit help come Game 7? And how much do the players and the people in the organization, did they realize, has it dawned on them how lucky they are to have Dan Gilbert as the owner?
Ethan, that's a great question, because I think when players are playing, they are so locked in, especially in that high level of game, a Game 7 of the Eastern Conference. They'll tell you, no matter what the sport, they kind of block the crowd out. They're so focused on what they're doing. But during the timeouts and when the chants start, and when the Cavaliers had kind of salted that game away against the Pistons, and all the Cavs fans started heading courtside to really root them on, the players will tell you they felt that, and it kind of fueled them and gave them some energy. And not only the fans and the team employees that made their way up there, and it was, believe me, it was truly heartfelt from the players, how gracious or how grateful they were for that. But the players also realized Dan Gilbert is in it for them. They understand that, and that's huge in a player-owner relationship. You look at some of the other circumstances around the NBA, and I don't want to name specific teams or players, but it's adversarial. It's not that way with Dan Gilbert and this Cavs team and the guys that are on the team. He knows that they are going to give it everything they have for him because of everything he does for the organization. And on the flip side, the players know he has their back. And he's going to send busloads of people up to support them. And he's going to show up at team dinners. And he's going to be there to support them. And that weighs heavily on a player in a positive way. That's a good thing. It's not a negative weight. They feel that. They understand that. And when you have the support of ownership, that is huge as far as just the overall camaraderie and the team chemistry.
Right, and I think Donovan Mitchell even mentioned part of the reason for staying here, re-signing, and he talked about just how good it is here. And I think there's a story, they talk about it on the local radio, on Cleveland radio. It comes up where Tristan Thompson, he went to like Boston, and he'll keep saying, oh, you know, they never would do this in Cleveland. They never would do that. Like as in good, like they do it way better in Cleveland than they were doing like in Boston. It was pretty funny, you know, how they were, after he went there, they're like, oh, what are you going to tell us now, Tristan? What, you know, it was kind of funny how you carry that with you.
No, everything is top shelf. It really is. And that's the way Dan Gilbert wants it. Not that he wants to spoil the guys, not that he wants to treat them as elitist per se. He just wants the best for them, the best accommodations, the best as far as nutrition with meals, the best with travel. He understands how important that is to professional athletes. And so he not only is like that with the players, but, you know, I can attest he's like that with the team, with the organization. Everything is top shelf. Why not the best?
That is amazing. So just kind of moving on, and unfortunately to have the recap of last night, you know, it wasn't obviously.
Oh, we were having such a nice conversation.
I know. Trust me, the three of us were watching last night together, you know, on here and sharing the screen, and that was rough. But we'll get to that. We had early success in the game, and I don't know, was that something that you would say you could attribute to our defense versus the Knicks missing shots, possibly as a result of the rust, the long layoff between series? What can you attribute kind of how we were able to get out nice and play pretty well early with them just bricking shots?
Yeah, so a lot to unpack there. I do think it was a combination of all those things, Ethan. You know, the old rest versus rust, you know, which has more bearing on a game. And it was interesting that Jim Jones was coming down on the side of rest. You know, you get these guys healthy and so forth. And I tend to lean more towards rust. I don't care how hard Mike Brown practiced those guys. I don't care if you find somebody else to bring in scrimmage. You can't be off that long and be as razor sharp as you were after that series against Philadelphia. They were performing at such a high level to now not have any sort of competition for 10 days and just expect to have it back like that against the Cavaliers in an Eastern Conference final. You could see it. They just looked out of sync. Now, I do think the Cavaliers had something to do with that. I thought their defense to start the ball game was outstanding, and I thought their offense was operating pretty efficiently. You mentioned, you know, for some of the game, to me, they played 41 minutes of outstanding basketball.
They really did.
That's what you have to take away, I think. And I wasn't in the film session today. I won't be in the film session tomorrow. That I'm not invited to, but I think that's what Kenny's going to hone in on, to say we were doing what we wanted to do schematically, strategically. We were doing the things that built that 22-point lead, and it got away from us. Now, what were the reasons for that? I'm sure you're going to ask me. But the first 40 or 41 minutes, I thought the Cavaliers executed the game plan beautifully. And you do have to give credit to the Knicks. I mean, we've seen Jalen Brunson do this before, where he just catches fire. And it doesn't matter who's guarding him. It doesn't matter the degree of difficulty on the shot. He knocks them down. And that's what happened in the fourth quarter. He goes on this tear. And guys, I can tell you, sitting there at MSG, I thought the roof was going to come off the place. And I've heard MSG pretty loud. And it just had that snowballing effect on the Cavaliers. It got them into rushing their offense, got them into making mental mistakes, and everything just collapsed. But I think if you look at the first 40 to 41 minutes of that basketball game, the Cavs did exactly what they wanted to do.
Right, exactly. And I think you kind of already addressed some things. I was going to ask about how you bounce back from a loss after that kind of a loss and having a short memory. So I know, Mike, you had a question you wanted to ask Tim. So I'll let you go ahead with that.
Yeah, so from like the perspective of being a broadcaster, like when the situation like yesterday happened, when the Knicks went on that, can you hear me?
Yeah, he can hear you.
I can hear you.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
When they went on that run, like what's like going through your mind as a broadcaster, and like how do you stay composed? Like when they're going on that, they're cutting down the deficit from like 22 down to like 10, then to 5, and it's spiraling away from the Cavs. Like,
Yeah, that's a great question, Mike. By the way, you're in Great Britain?
I'm from England, yeah.
Is that where you are now?
Yep.
Well, thanks for staying up with us.
No.
I'm glad your alarm went off.
He
Glad
is-
the alarm went off.
He is
Yeah,
up
the alarm went
every
off, so I
night,
remember the
Tim.
podcast, yeah, but-
So, Mike, that's a great question. And, but you actually used the term that's critically important. I'm a broadcaster. I'm not a fan. Now, do I want the Cavs to win? And am I going, oh, man, here we go. But in the end, I am a broadcaster. And so I have to tell the story and not let emotions get the best of me as to what is happening down there on the floor. So, it's still scoring time, and it's still the Knicks making a run. And you can kind of see it unraveling for the Cavaliers. You also have to be honest with your audience. I know probably 90% of those that were listening last night and throughout the year are Cavs fans. But you also, number one, have to give credit to the Knicks, give credit to Brunson, which I think I did. You also have to say in that broadcast, the Cavaliers are making some big mistakes here. They did. I mean, I can't get on there and say the Cavaliers are playing great. At that point, I've lost all my credibility, right?
Sure.
So, yeah, you have to stay in the moment of what is going on. And it's intimidating because that Garden crowd, I'll tell you what, it is just a din when you can't even hear yourself in your own headsets, and you can't hear yourself or Jim Jones, your partner. So, but you still have to keep calling the game. That is the most important thing. Just keep calling the game. Fans, if I'm doing a good enough job and an accurate enough job, they'll figure out what's going on. I'm sure there were a lot of people pacing back and forth last night and probably saying some words that I don't want to say right now. But believe me, that it's for me to project what's going on in the game. It's for fans to react to what I'm telling them about the game.
Right. It is so important to get the message across because, for the people who are listening to you, if they aren't, many of them are probably not watching. So you're there to tell them the story. That you're doing the tough work there. All those TV guys, they got the pictures to tell the story. They don't even. Just kidding, of course. So
hey, now listen, don't discount the sinkers. We've come up with this new term. We've got all these people that are telling us they're syncing up Jim Jones and I with the television. So they're muting the audio. And I said, who knows, when I retire, I may start a band and call them the Sinkers, because we've got a lot of sinkers out there now. They're syncing up that audio to the video.
Well, and I've got it in my notes and talking about the coverage of the playoffs and the way the NBA has done it. I wish they would have an offer like MLB TV does for the Guardians, where I can just select to listen to the radio broadcast, even though I'm watching the feed from, what are we on now? Whatever network, Cleveland Guardians TV or whatever it is. But I'm able to listen to Tom and Jim Rosenhaus And I really wish that I could do the same for the NBA games, because it is frustrating as it is when your team is struggling. It's even more frustrating when you're not happy with the announcers and you're angry about everything at that point.
Well, I'm again, I do have to be fair insofar as if the Knicks make a great play or the
Sure.
Cavaliers make a bad play. But I think if anybody's listening to those broadcasts all along the Medical Mutual Cavaliers audioverse, I think they know kind of who we're rooting for and who we're pulling for. I mean, we're employed by the Cavaliers, but again, you do have to be honest with your listeners, because if you're not honest with them, then you lose credibility. And, that's when the homer term comes in and that sort of thing. And I don't deny that I work for the Cavs and I broadcast for the Cavs, but I think people, as they listen, also understand I'm calling elite high-level basketball. And sometimes, yes, the other team does deserve some credit as well.
Well, absolutely. But they also know, if they tune into you, that you are, in fact, the Cavaliers play-by-play person, not the Knicks or the Celtics. You are the Cavaliers, and I think that's where the difference is. And for me, just watching games, and I see people who are supposed to be the down-the-middle national media on the national broadcast, and when you don't get that and you feel it's one way or the other, that's where it gets me. But, obviously you're the consummate professional. So much kudos to you. Much kudos to you, of course. Well,
I've got a great team. I'll tell you what, Jim Jones, who of course has announced he's retiring, but Jim has just been a wonderful color commentator for the 7 years that I've been doing the games and beyond that. And it's been terrific to have Serena Winters join us on the audioverse side. Of course, television locally finished up at the end of the regular season. So she switched over and joined us for the radio coverage. I think it's been outstanding. Got a great production team with the highlights and the music. So it truly is a team effort, pardon the pun. But again, I think we all interact well and we all enjoy each other's company, and the comments that are made as far as the broadcasts are concerned. I think Jim offers awesome insights. Serena is used to being around the guys and being in the huddles, so she offers a totally different perspective, and I think it works well together.
Oh, it definitely does. As a listener, from 500 plus miles away, not quite as far as Mike, but as a listener, who doesn't see all the games, absolutely, you guys do fantastic, and always appreciate that. So, in as much as you might, you saw the guys today or anybody around the team, what's the mood like or the energy like?
The mood's positive.
Okay.
Again, it reminds me of the loss in Game 6 of Detroit. And I think everybody walked out of the arena thinking, man, that was our shot and we blew it. And I think there was a lot of people last night listening to me, or maybe the sinkers that were watching and listening, or just watching, but no matter how, they saw that game unfold in the final 7 minutes, and they got up this morning going, man, we're done. And to me, that's a Game 6 after Detroit mentality. I think you're selling the Cavaliers short. They bounced back after that loss to the Pistons. They were focused. They were businesslike. They knew the job that had to be done in Detroit. We got on a plane, and they went out and did it. I could see the look in their face. And one of the things I haven't even really shared on the air, kind of give you guys an insight here, as the Cavs broke the huddle for Game 7 in Detroit. And I've been around all 82 games plus with the playoffs this year and going back years. Now, I normally don't sit courtside, so I'm usually up above Joe Tate perch and so forth. But when they broke that huddle in Detroit, where we are courtside, I saw a look in their eye like they meant business. Like, we're coming out here and we're not rolling over for anybody. And if you remember, they dominated that game from the get-go. They took it right to the Pistons. Danis Jenkins hit a 3-ball. They went up 3-2, and it was their only lead of the game. But I'll never forget, I can still see it, the look in Mobley and Allen and Donovan and Harden's eyes when they came out of that huddle before the tip. Like, they were serious. They knew what was at stake. They knew what they had to do. And I'm pretty sure now I won't be courtside tomorrow night, but I'm pretty sure they're going to bring that same look and that same intensity for game 2.
Oh, I thought you were Timothy Chalamet, and you definitely would be courtside.
No, I'm not a celebrity. No,
What is
I
it?
don't. I don't sit on Celebrity Row at Madison Square Garden. I'm
It's
way
probably
up
for the
there.
best. Probably for wait. Oh boy.
Oh
boy.
man.
But listen again. Going back to the listeners. Listeners don't care where I'm sitting, so I'm not going to sit there and gripe about it. I was going to use another word. I'm not going to sit there and gripe about it. I am where I am. If you're listening in Europe, you're listening in Virginia, you're listening in Cleveland. You just want to know what's going on in the game. So for me to sit there and complain about where I'm sitting, that Jim Jones is basically sitting in my lap because we're so tapped in. People don't care. They want to know what's the score, what's the time, what's going on, right?
Oh my gosh, we need a whole show on just Jim Jones stories here and your broadcast, adventures.
We could fill an hour.
I would love to hear that because I'm sure you have heard a lot over the years with him.
True.
One of the things that we've seen from the Cavs that has been a knock on them, especially in the postseason, has been the turnover issue. And I'm just curious from what you've seen, having watched the entirety of the season, is there a specific thing that you can say, this is why we're having X, Y, and Z problems, specifically with a turnover? Is it chemistry? Is it lack of communications? Is it partially due to the continuity, due to all the injuries and the trades and so on and so forth? It might be all of the above, but I just would love your perspective on that.
Wow, Ethan, that's a great question. And it has been the Achilles heel for the Cavaliers this season. Now, I think when Garland was hurt, they were messing with that point guard spot, who was going to handle the ball. There was uncertainty there. And so I think that led to some of the issues early in the year. Now, if you fast forward, not to go game by game, now you bring Harden in at the trade deadline. He's getting used to the offense. The guys are getting used to him. The offense slowed down. It's just a fascinating stat that when the Cavaliers, before James Harden, were top 7 or 8 in pace, as far as the pace of the game, after James Harden, they slipped into the 20s. So the game has slowed down with Harden on the team. It's become more of a deliberate offense, but that allows defenses to then trap, to swarm you because you're not breaking. You're not getting out and running. So that has contributed to it. And then you get into the postseason, and let's not take anything away from Toronto and Detroit. I thought schematically they put together great game plans against the Cavaliers offense to force them into turnovers. Now, the other part of that equation is the Cavaliers have also had careless turnovers, just mental turnovers. You can live with some turnovers, like I said, if you're getting swarmed or you're getting double teamed or a guy just steps into a passing lane and makes a great steal. These guys are elite athletes. That's going to happen sometimes. But the pass sailing 2 or 3 feet over a guy's head, or a pass that bounces to the sideline and the guy's already moved and the bounce pass just goes into somebody's drink in the first row. You can't have those. You can't have those. And because in the postseason, every possession is gold. And more often than not, we saw it last night, games are 1 possession, 2 possession games. And so, man, you look back on the careless turnovers, those are the ones that really bite you because you're giving up a possession of the basketball. You're giving the other team a possession. And then if they capitalize on that, points off turnovers, then that's the number that'll really hurt you. And that has hurt the Cavaliers.
Definitely has bitten them. There was a little bit of an added fuel to the fire in the series against Detroit with the JB Bickerstaff piece. Is there any of that with Mike Brown, or is that too far removed from his coaching of the Cavaliers and this time frame? I would think it's a little far removed, but doesn't hurt to ask.
Yeah. No, you're exactly right. It's too far removed. He was back there several years. And again, those who are still with the Cavaliers organization, there aren't any team members
right
as far as players, but those who were with the organization during Mike's time, they think so highly of Mike. He's a great guy. He's a classy individual. So Those people that had a relationship with Mike still get along fine with him. And that's life in the NBA where coaches bounce around, players do too. JB, that was a different animal because there's a lot of guys that are on this team that played for JB Bickerstaff. And flip side, JB, obviously, it wasn't too long ago that he was the coach of the Cavaliers. And whatever the reasons were for his dismissal, listen, you get fired, and you carry that with you. That's some salt in the wound. And so it was personal for JB. I know he didn't want to admit that, and he wouldn't, but believe me, it was. And so there was definitely that drama within the series as far as JB and the Cavs were concerned. But me personally, I do want to just say this. I have nothing against JB Bickerstaff. I think he's a great culture builder. I think he's a tremendous coach. And what he's done in Detroit, his first 2 years there, is simply incredible because they were dismal. They were at the bottom of the league as far as just quality of play and just every aspect of NBA basketball. And JB, as he did in Cleveland, he can put down some tough love on guys, but he'll turn that thing around. He'll develop a winning culture. And he did that in Cleveland. I had a great relationship with JB, and he's done that in Detroit.
Right. And Mike, I know we were talking, Drew, we were talking about coaching questions. I know you had one.
Yeah. So with talking about Mike Brown, he was, he was associate head coach in Golden State for a bit, with Steve Kerr. And in that time period, for at least a year or so, Kenny Atkinson was the assistant coach for the Golden State Warriors. And in that press conference last night, he did mention, targeting James Harden in Houston and going after him for his defense with the Warriors. With them coaching together for at least a season, do you believe that there was an idea, and Kenny said that they may target him again with Jalen Brunson and during that comeback? Or, just kind of, well, he actually did mention he was going for it. He mentioned he was going after James Harden. So do you think that in Kenny's mind, you're going to plan around that for the next game or for the rest of the series? Like, hey, listen, we can't have Harden going up against Jalen Brunson, or, do we put Dean Wade in there?
So let me backtrack there a little bit. First of all these coaches know each other very well. It's amazing how many different staffs they've all been on and where their paths have crossed and that sort of thing. So, and I believe me, Mike Brown, Kenny Atkinson, they both revere Steve Kerr. So to be on Steve Kerr's staff was a blessing for both of them. Do I think Kenny will make adjustments for tomorrow night? Sure. But just, I want to correct you a little bit because the matchup was not Harden on Brunson. Harden was not guarding.
Yeah, he got
Brunson.
switched over. He got switched over to him.
He got switched.
Yeah.
And again, Mike Brown obviously coached that and schemed that. Believe me, I was calling it out on the broadcast. I mean, it didn't matter who James Harden was guarding. Could have been Bridges, could have been Hart, could have been Landry Shamet. It didn't matter. Harden, whoever he was guarding, that player came, set the screen for Brunson, and then Harden would switch. So, I mean, that was just drilled into the Knicks in that final 7 minutes. It doesn't matter who Harden has. That guy comes, he sets the screen, the Cavs are going to switch off, and now Harden has Brunson. So it wasn't necessarily that the Cavs had put Harden on Brunson. It was that the Knicks were creating those screen switches. Now, how does Kenny combat that tomorrow night? I think that's going to be a huge question because obviously the stats bear it out. I mean, Brunson did get hot. I mean, he hit some tough shots, but the numbers against Harden were extremely successful for Jalen Brunson. So I'm sure you'll see some sort of adjustment there. I know towards the end, they were doubling Brunson. So when Harden would get him, the Cavs didn't want that one-on-one matchup. They were sending a double. Brunson would pass out of it, but then he'd get the ball right back. And then that's part of that chess match. And I think that's fascinating as this series unfolds to see how do the Cavs react to that tomorrow night. What do the Knicks do? And again, it's a 7-game series, and those chessboard pieces are going to be moved quite a bit.
Yeah, and that kind of already answered my next question regarding, is it possible to trust your players far too much versus like knee-jerk reactions and whatnot? Again, you have Dean Wade trying to guard Brunson, which was a favorable matchup for the Cavs in the regular season. And then, of course, like you said, they switched over to James Harden on those switches and started attacking him. So you already basically answered that question secondary.
I'm not sure tell me what the question is. In other words, I think the Cavs will start with Wade or somebody on Brunson.
So the question was
I think the question is, how will the Cavs, I don't want to ask your question for you, but how will the Cavs adapt on the screen and the switch? How will the Cavs adapt to that? And I think that's what film session and practice and shoot-arounds are for. That gets into the X's and O's of it. So that, yes, whoever comes and set the screen, if Harden is on him, how do the Cavs still make it so that Harden doesn't end up as the sole defender? I think that's where you're going to see some sort of tactical type of adjustment made by Kenny Atkinson.
Okay. And then my last question I had was, do you think the Cavs would benefit from utilizing guys like Jalen Tyson, Thomas Bryant, Keon Ellis, guys who are a bit more physical and defensive to try and combat some of this stuff?
Well, you saw Keon Ellis last night, and I wouldn't be surprised if he garners more playing time as this series moves along, because Keon is a great defender. That's why the Cavaliers absolutely insisted that he be involved and he be included in the deal for Dennis Schroeder. He can shoot a 3-ball, but it was more about his defense to help them in the playoffs. So, it's interesting. You go back to Steve Kerr, and one of the things that Kenny always says he learned from Steve Kerr was, just because a guy doesn't play much in one series doesn't mean he's not going to play in the next series. And Steve Kerr, in his history, you won't see a guy for 5 or 6 games in series 1. But then series 2 comes along, it's a different matchup. It's a different philosophy. And so you have to be willing to adapt. And so, yeah, I do think Keon Ellis will see some more action in this series. TB and Jalen Tyson, I'm not sure about. TB hasn't played a whole lot, and Jalen Tyson, he struggled. Again, I have to be honest. I have to be transparent. He has struggled in his time on the floor, and when you get to the Eastern Conference Finals, that window to show what you've got is going to be brief. And so far, Jalen hasn't played that well. So I think that's why you saw Keon Ellis last night. Kenny saying, I'm going to try something else because we haven't seen it from Jalen Tyson.
Right. So he's not doing the definition of insanity, which is trying the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. All right. Gotta like hit the obvious one. Dr. J.A. Like, we see him in Game 7 in Toronto and Detroit, and this guy is incredible. And you on our podcast have talked about this before, about them kind of urging J.A. to be more involved and having him more involved. What do they have to do? Because I think he really is, like, the story is going around about Dan and Kenny having this dinner, and Dan telling Kenny before Game 7 of Detroit, J.A. is the key, and so on and so forth. How do they keep that going? Was there something that New York was doing last night that was preventing that? What do we have to do?
Well, first of all, I'll share with you guys, it was interesting because I was at that team dinner. Now, I wasn't sitting with Dan Gilbert and Kenny Atkinson, but they were just a couple of tables away, and I could see, they were kind of going back and forth, not in a bad way at all. I mean, it wasn't an argument, and Kenny's nodding his head, and boy, if I had known then that Dan Gilbert was suggesting, hey, let's get Jared Allen involved, I would have used that in the open of my broadcast for Game 7. But yeah, and again, that goes back to the relationship that Dan has with the coaches and with the players. He's not drawing up plays for Kenny Atkinson, not to take it to that level, but he knows this team and he has his finger on the pulse of this team. And so, but back to Jared, when he plays with that intensity and with that fire, he's just something to behold, and he can dominate in that low block area. So I would think Kenny's going to try to get him involved again tomorrow night, get him going early, maybe pick up some fouls on Karl Anthony Towns, because he's a guy that's prone to foul problems and silly fouls. So I'm sure they're going to try to get him going, because as Kenny has said over and over again, the Cavs are a better team when Jared Allen is playing well. He makes winning plays. And I don't think it's that Jared doesn't try some games, but there's a level that he brings it to. And when he does, he's unstoppable.
He absolutely is. Mike, I think you had another question.
Well, we've really spoken about the willingness to play extra guys.
Okay, all right.
But I was wondering, like, what happened to Spider yesterday for the last 13 minutes of the game, because he didn't really score. So what kind of happened there, in your opinion?
Well, that's a fair question. And number one, I think the Cavs got rushed in the final 7 minutes. Obviously, that's when they had the 22-point lead, and they got out of their offense, and they were jacking up three balls. And there were a lot of times where there was 10 plus seconds left on that shot clock, and the Cavs were putting it up. So I think they got rushed. I think the Knicks had something to do with that. And then even when Donovan had the ball in his hands, I think he felt rushed. You could feel this tidal wave coming from the Knicks, and I think the Cavs were desperately trying to put an end to it. And so they got away from what they were doing that built that 22-point lead. And all of a sudden, everything was forced and everything was rushed, and the Knicks are feeding off that crowd and feeding off the run. So it just became this culmination of everything. But I thought Donovan Mitchell, 3+ quarters, that was classic vintage game one Donovan Mitchell. I know we talked about his stats in game ones in his playoff career, 13 game ones, averaging 32 points per game. So he had it going until that fourth quarter. I do think the Knicks took him out of that somewhat as well. So I think there's a myriad of factors there.
Right. So along those lines, you mentioned the tidal wave, and I know this was asked, and this has become a big soundbite already since last night during the press conference with Kenny. They asked him about his usage of timeouts. He had 4 timeouts when this all started with 7 minutes to go. And in the presser, he mentions that he likes to normally save, 1 or 2 timeouts the timeouts in case it's a really close game. I guess when we're watching it from afar and you're watching it, well, sometimes you're further away than others, but and you can feel that energy. Do you just wonder, wouldn't now be a good time to call a timeout? And maybe because guys are getting fatigued. I'm not trying to be funny, but yeah.
No, there's a physical fatigue. There's a mental fatigue. This surge that the Knicks are on. How do you slow that down? How do you take the crowd out of it, at least for a 60-second timeout or whatever the case may be? So, yeah, I think there's some of that. But coaches have philosophies. And more often than not, they stick with those philosophies. And if Kenny's philosophy is, I want to have a timeout or 2 in my pocket at the end, then, again, I don't think a lot is going to dissuade him from that. But sure, as you're calling the game, you're thinking, they need a timeout. They need a timeout. But Kenny has a much better feel for his team, and obviously his own philosophy as far as when to take timeouts. And he didn't do it last night. So will he change overnight if the Cavs are involved in the same type of scenario tomorrow night? We shall see. But it's hard to say to a coach, well, you got to change your entire way of thinking right now. But there is no doubt there was an absolute, I use the term tidal wave, that tidal wave of emotion and momentum that was going the Knicks' way.
Right. And I know you're a little bit short on time, but I want to ask you, you've been so gracious with your time. I ask you one more question. We've watched the NBA and we've watched the offense of the Cavs, and it seems to have kind of devolved into it's a few pick and rolls. It's not your triangle offense per se. And I just wondered, is this something that you're seeing all across the league? Is this an inaccurate statement or review of what the Cavs offense has kind of become, as opposed to lots of motion, a UCLA, a flex, etc.?
I do think the Cavaliers offense changed with the acquisition of James Harden. We talked about that earlier. The pace that the Cavaliers were playing at pre-Harden compared to what it's been post-James Harden is significant. So James Harden is a guy, he likes the half court game. He wants to slow it down. He wants to get into a set. Now, can there be instances where the ball is in James's hands and so things get stagnant? Yes. And to me, you still have to have cutters. You still have to have movement, even if you're in a half court set. Now, James last night, I thought it was interesting after the ball game. He mentioned the fact he thought the Cavs need to pick up the pace a little bit because the Knicks in that back half of the fourth quarter were swarming. They were trapping. And the way to beat that is to get the ball down the floor. Saw the Cavs do that against Detroit, where they were pushing it a little bit more than they normally do so that Detroit couldn't settle into that half-court defense. So I don't necessarily know, Ethan, if it's league-wide. You still see teams play with a lot of pace where they're getting up and down the floor. I do think the half-court sets have become more of the pick and the screen and trying to isolate a guy defensively.
Right. That's
like
what I was kind of suggesting, as opposed to, again, if you think about like when you're learning to play basketball, oh, we're going to run the UCLA, we're going to run Princeton offense, we're going to run this. And I know that involves all those different elements, but it just seems like a lot of teams, it's like, okay, set a screen. And I'm looking for movement off the ball and things like that. But yeah, absolutely. I get exactly what you're saying. Tim, I want to thank you again very, very much for being here with us. We truly appreciate all your time. Let's keep this run going. And again, please, know that we are want to congratulate Jim Chones, and he does a fantastic job with you. So let's keep this rolling, and you guys have many more games together here in this season. And let's end on a big note.
That'd be fun. I'll tell you what, I don't count this Cavalier team out. Yes, last night hurt. It was disappointing. But I've seen this team bounce back from adversity before. And when that ball goes up tomorrow night, it's game 2 and it's 0-1. That's all it is, no matter how you lost game 1. So I don't see any quit in this team. I think they're going to battle. I think this is going to turn out to be an epic series against the Knicks, and we'll see how it unfolds. But this Cavalier team is not going to fold here at MSG. They're going to give the Knicks all they can handle in game 2. And guys, I love being on with you. I've told you that before. I think you guys are terrific. I think you do a great job. Your questions are fair, and they're probing, and they're good. So keep up the great work. And hey, let's do this again either before or during the NBA Finals. How's
Heck
that?
yeah, that sounds great, Tim. Thank you very much. Get some rest. Have a quiet evening, a nice evening, and get locked in. Let's go.
All right, guys.
All right. Thank you, Tim,
We'll talk to you
very
later,
much.
man.
Have a great evening, Tim. Thank you very much.
You.
That is Tim Alcorn, the radio voice of your Cleveland Cavaliers. Wow, guys, that's a lot to unpack. But you know what I would like to unpack is I'd like to unpack some things by going to Dick's House of Sport. Dick's House of Sport in Strongsville, a proud sponsor of all of your programs here on the Land Multimedia Group. Thank you to Dick's House of Sport. Thank you again to Tim Alcorn for being with us for 45 minutes he's got a busy schedule there in New York, and he's exhausted. So thank you very much. Guys, what did you make of some of what Tim had to tell us? And he's seeing it firsthand. He's there. He's in the trenches, essentially, with the team traveling. What'd you think?
Well, I thought what he said was pretty positive. When he was speaking about the huddle in Detroit, you saw the eyes, and these guys were locked in, and these guys were focused. And, even just all around, the team is positive. They know they can win ball games. And that brings a little bit more good feeling into us, because it's like, okay, now I can go into tomorrow a little bit more happier and a little bit more excited, knowing like, this team does have what it takes to make it all the way and go to the finals and, play either OKC or San Antonio and give them a run. So this team is bought in. I'm bought in. Hopefully the guys are locked in like they were in a game 7, and, hopefully things pan out the way they should be.
Yeah. Mike, what did you make of it?
He's definitely made me feel a lot better going in tomorrow because
Yeah.
all the media guys. I didn't really. I've seen a few clips like from Jeff Teague and stuff saying that the Cavs are mentally going to be broken from last night. The series is done. They've got no chance of coming out of the East. All this, and he's kind of killed it off for me. So my thoughts going into tomorrow are definitely a lot more positive now. Especially when he talks about the huddle and how they looked pop up for the response in Game 7 in the previous series. So. Yeah,
right.
He's made me feel a bit more at ease going into tomorrow, to be honest.
You feel again, it's not. You have as the time goes by, you have a little more time to reflect on it and think about it, and then you do talk to somebody who's right there and is seeing all of this firsthand and has seen every single game this season and knows what this team is. And it does tend to make you feel a little bit better because you hear Kendrick Perkins saying, "Oh, we lost Mike. I hope he didn't lose his audio. If he did, he'll be back." But I think he said they're gonna fold like clean laundry or something like that, or clean towels. Something only Kendrick Perkins would say. And I feel like, man, you played in Cleveland for a hot minute there. What's up with that? Why you got to be such a Kendrick Perkins?
Well, I just think a lot of these media guys and former NBA guys, for some reason, they just dislike Cleveland, and I don't know why they dislike it. I know Jeff Teague hates Cleveland because LeBron used to beat him up really badly. So, maybe he's still a little salty about the days of Atlanta and Indiana when LeBron would come in and demolish him. So
you're talking about Jeff Teague, by the way.
Yeah, I can see why Jeff Teague's
pissed. I had to
pissed.
restart. Apologize for that, guys. But
No, you're good.
That is okay. Not a problem at all. But yes, he is talking about Jeff Teague. Yeah, I definitely feel a little bit better now than I did just, 12 hours or less than 12 hours ago and everything like that. And folks, thank you everyone who's tuning in. And I know I got a couple questions here and I hope James, I hope you're still with us. I don't know if there's anywhere in Parkersburg. I'm in the Richmond, Virginia area, so I don't know about that. And yes, I also wish the rust that fell off the Knicks would have fallen off Watson that quick, but it's not. And also the Cavs are just getting us prepared for football season because if there's an improbable way to lose a game, the Browns do know how to do it. And we will definitely be talking a lot more Browns as the weeks go along, OTAs, all that kind of nonsense. Fellas, so we got game 2 tomorrow. We'll see what Kenny does. I think that was a fair answer that Tim gave because all of us are discussing it, the thing with the timeouts. And Kenny has his philosophy. Whether we like it or not, it may be the reason he gets fired, right? At some point. It's kind of like when we talk about Kevin Stefanski being stubborn in the way he was coaching and what he was doing or who he wouldn't fire and why he wouldn't, divert from this plan or that plan. And at the end of the day, you can stick with your philosophies, and if they work, okay, you're a genius. It's great. But when they don't work and you don't make a change and it fails multiple times, it's going to come back to bite you in the butt. And I think that's where it's going to come down to. I appreciate what he's done, but geez, Lou. That's the best way I can say it. Geez, Lou. I'm losing my mind over here with that stuff.
Well, I mean, yeah, in our perspective, it's like, how hard is it just to call a timeout to stop a run and give your guys like a quick break? And then granted, like you said, he's got his philosophies, he's saving those timeouts. He wants to end the game with, making sure he has timeouts. But the thing is, you have 4 timeouts with 5 minutes left. You could spare a couple. You could spare 1 or 2 of them.
Can you spare a square? It's a Seinfeld episode.
Yeah.
With the toilet. Can you spare a square? And Mike, you brought up a really good point about timeouts.
But from my understanding is after a certain amount of time, is it like the last 3 or 2 minutes of the game, you lose one automatically anyway, because you can only carry over a certain amount into the final period of the back end of the game. So it's like he had 4 left. And he automatically lost 1 because you can only carry up 2 over in the last 2 or 3 minutes of the fourth quarter or something. So,
and I just feel like it's a playoff game. This is not a regular season game. Don't let it get away from you because you're sticking to your philosophy. And I'm not going to say this is an original take because I heard it from Ken Carman on 92.3 The Fan. he said basically his theory about the timeouts is like, oh, a 1 or 2 possession game. It's like he was manifesting it into a 1 or 2 possession game. You're up by 22. Stop the tide now, and you can win by double digits.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy, but it is what it is. I think we all reflect on this, and we feel a little bit better after having talked to Tim instead of all the other talking heads, because I think we're all frustrated.
I'd rather it happen in game 1 though of the series than like, I don't know, game 3 when you lose home court because of it, or it goes to game 7 and then you blow a 20-point lead and you're gone out the series at the playoffs. Like, I'd rather it be the first game if it's going to happen.
Right. And I think that now, I know that New York has had more rest, but okay, we're coming off the same schedule. But now it's like we just played, day off, we got to play again. And that could we still might be feeling the effects of the fatigue. Hopefully they got rested up. And in the film study, I think sometimes mentally is more important than the physical, because you got to know what they're doing. You have to, with all those possessions, like you were talking about, Drew, like we talked about, where they forced a switch of getting Harden onto Brunson. That's exactly what the Cavs did. What we hunted down Duncan Robinson in one of the games. You know, Mitchell was just all on that, and everybody was like, get Duncan Robinson.
Yeah.
And as people discussed, the Harden defense wasn't, even when he got switched on to him, it wasn't horrible. Brunson was on a heater.
Yeah, and I mean, you can't, like I said earlier, you can't stop a layup when he's going up with it and he's letting it all the way at the top of the glass and it falls. You know, that at that point, you know, you played great defense. That's just a better shot when you can bounce it that high off the glass and get it to fall every single possession. And then you come up and you hit a big time step back 3. So I don't blame Harden for the defense, because he was up on Brunson. Like, he was guarding him heavily. So the defense was good. The shots were just better.
Well, yeah, certainly. It's just so many things went wrong there. And then
the offense was my bigger problem. Like, you can't go on a 7-minute period or whatever it was when only scoring like 1 point. It's like, that was my
took us out of our rhythm.
That was my bigger concern. We got out of the rhythm offensively.
Yeah.
And we have to get back into that. And what's funny, you know, he mentioned, and James is right, because they've said this too. We were, in fact, pushing things. We were creating turnovers and pushing the ball and getting into transition, which was phenomenal yesterday. I think there's still a possibility to do that. This team has it in them. I will be very interested to see what different lineups and measurements Kenny goes to, if he goes to more Keon Ellis. Were you surprised?
But like Tim said something about, sorry for butting in, but Tim literally said about the speed of the offense, the tempo, right? We've spoken previously about getting into your offense early.
Yep.
And I think that's what the Cavs need to do to counteract what the Knicks are doing. I think we need to start getting to the offense.
Well, and we need an offense. I don't care. I know we can't say for certainty, but to me, there's too much time where the ball sticks.
Yep.
Yeah.
There has to be a movement. There has to be a plan. And I know we didn't get into it, but the three of us talk about it ad nauseum, and it angers me to no end when a guy dribbles to the middle of the paint, picks up his dribble, has nowhere to go. He's got his back to the basket. He's turning around. He's trying to throw it. He has nowhere to go. What have you done except get yourself in trouble? These are fundamentals of basketball. You don't get up in the air with the ball when you have nowhere to go with it. You don't stop in the middle of the lane and pick up the dribble with your back to the basket, and you have nowhere to go with it.
But James
Harden's just fundamentals.
James Harden's been in the NBA like 17 odd years or whatever it is, and so why is he doing it? Like, he's one of the most experienced guys in the entire playoffs. Like, when it comes to outside of LeBron, he's probably got the next most experience in the playoffs. Like,
well, his bigger. So one, it's a calculated risk. He makes some really fancy passes.
Yeah.
He also dribbles a ton, and those are two of his bigger problems. So one, and by the time he's moving, he has taken the shot clock down to like 10. He's starting the offense with 10.
Yeah.
How are you supposed to do anything? And you're in a rush, of course. And all they got to do is come and trap you, and you dribble the ball off your foot, or you throw it away, and it's a mess. We missed out on an opportunity. I certainly hope watching the film, they pick up on some of these things. They are professionals. We do have the experience. Tim talked about getting Karl Anthony Towns in foul trouble. I didn't find him to be much of a factor. to be honest.
No,
Did
he,
I
he
miss
wasn't
something?
playing well.
Talking
he
of the
wasn't
foul
playing well.
trouble, though, what we should have done was got Brunson kicked out of the game because he was on 5 fouls towards the end of that game. Why aren't we attacking him and trying to get him to foul out? Like,
And that's a great question, Mike. You should give yourself a cookie for that one, bud, because it's true. You get the guy in 5 fouls. You've got to know that. Who on the bench is responsible for telling Kenny, isolate on Brunson, isolate on him. You
the problem
make
is
him foul.
Problem is, we weren't scoring anyway, so you might as well just attack him. And even if you're not scored by doing it, he's probably eventually going to commit the foul. Because we went on that run where we scored 1 point in the space of 6 minutes or whatever.
Well, we got outscored. Ultimately, it was 44-11, including the overtime. I mean, we were up 22 and lost by 11, so a 33-point swing. It's absurd. It's absolutely absurd.
It was a 41-8 run, I think it was.
Yeah, so 44-11. We scored 3 points in the overtime. And Max Strus 3. Something just wasn't there. But is it correctable? Yes. Yeah. And is it just one game? Yes. So we can be pissed off and we can be upset about
series?
it.
No. Well, the Knicks probably going to sweep the series. Probably not. Like, why are people still freaking out? Like,
I think it's just is there that only in Cleveland mentality? Is this an only in Cleveland moment, guys?
I think
so. At least in our minds.
Well, I do think so, and I kind of want to go back to your point just a little bit ago, Ethan, when we were mentioning the pace of play. You know, I noticed when Harden is off the floor and it's guys like Mitchell, Mobley, Allen, Strus and Merrill or something. You notice how fast we get up the court off the inbound? Like, we're past half court at like 19, 18 seconds. With James Harden,
say we were like top 5 and we dropped like into the 20 after the train. So it's like
and then Harden brings it up and it's right on the cusp of the 8-second mark. And it's
Donovan that too, but yes, go ahead.
But it's more so on Mitchell, and it's like, okay, we're right on the cusp of the 8-second. Okay, now like you said, by the time you get into the offense, there's 10 seconds left. And you have no time to get a play set. You have no time to do anything. The only time you have is to quickly do a quick dribble and do a step back. That's all the time you have to do. And you're not giving yourself much help at all. But then you get guys like Mitchell who are bringing up the ball fast, giving yourselves like, okay, we have 17 seconds to get into this offense, 16 seconds to get into the offense. Let's do it. And you might see him just immediately attack to the basket and try and get up a quick layup. And it's like, why are we getting back to that speed of, hey, and I know Harden's a little bit older and, he probably can't move that fast, but, why not say like Harden, can we bring up the ball just a little bit quicker? Like, why are we holding on to the ball until almost 8 seconds are up? Like, I don't want you to walk it down. I want you to at least jog it down and just give yourself some time.
Well, and the other part of that is if you're tired, you need to be taken off the floor. You need someone who's got some fresh legs.
Well, and I think that's what we were telling Tim at that point is that, why not make these substitutions and why not call a quick timeout and get those fresh legs in there and get those substitutions to come in, because you don't want to hurt your own game by sitting there. It's like, okay, they're going on an 18-1 run because we're so tired because all the guys were on the floor for the past 8-9 minutes. These guys are burned out, man. They played the end of the third. They played majority of the fourth. These guys are gassed. Get them off the floor. Get some new guys in. Let's pick up some steam.
Like when we got the 22-point lead, realistically, you look back at now, he should have put Keon Ellis in for like a 2-minute spurt, like just for energy, because we weren't scoring anyway. It's like, just he can get some stops on the defensive end. Like, give the starters just a little rest.
He could get you a couple steals.
Well, and I guess what we're going to go with, if we look at the glass is half full, which is not the Cleveland way, we're going to say, okay, as Tim said, as everyone, we basically controlled that game for 41 minutes. And that was our ball game. We did the same thing on Christmas Day. And we had that thing. And then we beat the brakes off of them in Cleveland after that.
Yes,
so I think this series is not over. It's a real piece of crap game. We were all angry and down, but we're going to get back up for it like we always do. I think that's the beauty of Cleveland sports fans is we always pick ourselves up. We have been we've seen it all. I think we have honestly seen it all. and been heartbroken in so many ways. It's incredible. So I feel like we have incredible resolve, and we will be back ready for it tomorrow night, 8:00 from MSG. MSG I heard is kind of bad for you, isn't that? Oh, that's in cooking.
Hey, it makes a great flavor for.
It's delicious, man.
It makes everything taste good.
Monosodium glutamate. Monosodium glutamate. Excellent choice there.
Put it on everything.
It's delicious. Don't they use that a lot in the Chinese food?
Like Chinese. Yeah, Chinese and Japanese food, whatever, they use like a lot of MSG.
That's good stuff. It's not going to go well on your fish and chips, though, Mike.
Oh, is that why Larry Nance got ill? Is that why he's been on the injury report for the last 2 games?
Jamie Oliver doesn't know anything about MSG.
You know what, though, Mike? That's a great point. I'm so glad you brought up Larry Nance. I know tonight was basically a lot about the, it was all Cavs talk. And again, we will get to Browns and stuff like that. But one thing that we can use is just a quick transition and way to end things. Larry Nance, is he a part owner, or what is his relationship to being a Leeds United supporter?
He's not, is he?
Yes.
But I don't.
Yeah, you don't remember the post that the Cavs made of him wearing the Leeds United?
Yeah, the thing is, he was at the Spurs new stadium wearing a Spurs shirt. I've seen him post about Chelsea on his social media, and then he was introduced on the Cavs page with a Leeds shirt the other day. So I don't know.
I'm pretty certain he's a Leeds supporter. Well, whatever it is, Larry Nance, I don't care if you sit on the bench for the Cavs, but you need to find a way to take some positive energy and have Leeds United take care of West Ham on Sunday so that our Tottenham Hotspur do not get relegated. They could take care of it themselves, but on the off chance they don't, we're going to need Leeds United to handle business. A draw or a win.
Well, there is 9 scenarios, and only one of them has Spurs going down. Only one, and that's us losing and them winning.
There's like 11% chance of Spurs going down in that theory, then, and because it's a 1 in 9 chance.
It's a 1 in 9 chance.
Yeah, we're gonna have to be watching it. I think we might have to sit and nervously together at 11 a.m. on Sunday to try and watch that battle. Maybe we'll even let people behind the curtain as the cursing, begins and ends and so on and so forth. Really not the best for our broadcasting careers, as it were. So look, fellas, this was a fantastic show, and this was a great insight from Tim Alcorn, and we will continue to have hopefully other opportunities to talk to him and others as we go forward. And I think that in discussing the Cavs, we've all gone nuclear in our own way. Me, possibly more than anybody else, but that's par for the course. I mean, I noticed yesterday, I've had this desk chair I'm sitting in for, I don't know, at least 12 years, 13. I've had it that long.
Hasn't broken yet then?
Oh, heck no, man. This thing's a beast. But I noticed that I literally, in my frustration, as I was hitting the chair, the dust was coming off of it, on the underside. So I noticed I had to vacuum up some dust. That's just how nuclear I went watching that game yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, I had to replace my old chair because before we did, I got this new chair is only like 3 months old.
What did you do?
Well, I just got a new one because after a while, the other chair I had it for like 10, like you said, like 10 years or something. And it's starting to not break or anything, but it's starting to hurt my a little bit. And it's like, okay, I feel like I'm getting ready to fall through and sit on the thing, and it's not gonna be so good, and I'm not gonna feel well. So, I decided maybe it's time for a new chair.
You got to treat yourself well. You got to treat yourself right every once in a while. You don't want to be like there's the episode of, I don't know if you watch The King of Queens, but he is Kevin James's character. He's taking on the role as a delivery, food delivery person, and he has to ride a bicycle. And the person, he's in New York, and someone steals a seat, and so he takes his sandwich and folds it up and puts it on the seat where the seat is supposed to be. So I don't want you sitting on a sandwich, Drew. That's
No.
what I guess that's what I'm saying.
And you know what? This is a nice chair too. I could lean it all the way back, and it's got like a leg rest that comes out from underneath it, so I can lounge in it. So it's a nice chair.
And you're lucky because last time I had a chair like that, desk chair like that, and I leaned back, it just snapped the whole back. Just snapped.
Hey, you pulled the mic well.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that is amazing. All right. Well, guys, thank you very much as always. Fantastic job. Thank you to everybody who tuned in. We do appreciate you being with us here tonight. We'll be back again next week, and we'll see what kind of fun adventures we have. Hopefully, we'll be talking about Cavs, at least a 2-2 series, maybe a 3-1 Cavs series, and have some hope going into Game 5 or whatever the case may be. And we'll be talking more Guardians, Browns, and everything else that is going on. Guys, thank you again.
Yep.
And so, for Mike Pellegrini, for Drew Hagenbaugh, I'm Ethan Greenberg, and you've been tuned in to Going nuCLEar, full-blown coverage of the Land, part of the Land Multimedia Group.